Hey guys, how's it going? So this is my first YouTube video. I don't really have any plans or particular ideas or insight, really. I just wanted to show off my Plugy account a little bit. Um, I kind of like just looking at different builds, looking at other people show off their gear. So I figured people might find it interesting to look at some of my builds. So it's a Plugy account, single player, pretty much all legit. I haven't I've used Hero Editor to reset like socket quests. I've lost items trying to recover them through Hero Editor. I've done like a little bit of that here and there, but it's 99.9% legit account. And yeah, so I start off with my Sorceress here. So it's a Lightning Sorceress, level 97, max Vita build, and I'm not really showing this as so much as like a build guide. It's really more about when I say build, I mean the gear. I think everybody who's familiar with Diablo knows the general build. You know, maxing lightning and its synergies, teleport, telekinesis, frozen armor, warmth. Then at level 97 you can give up some skill points into like enchant or something random like that. Doesn't really matter. All right, so let's jump into the gear. So pretty standard Hodo as my weapon. Now, there's a couple different options here, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But right now, this is my current lightning setup, and there are different kind of iterations and flavors that have different strengths and weaknesses. So got a Hodo 37 all res, pretty solid option for any caster build. Next no-brainer is a Griffin's. This is minus 20% res, which is really the most important stat on it, with that facet in there. Obviously, you get a nice one skill and FCR and a helmet, which is pretty rare. And then looking down to the chest piece, I did find a 3 lightning Ormus robes, and that's also plus 15% on lightning damage base, and then I got a facet in there as well. So this is pretty much the beefiest chest armor for lightning damage you could really have. Obviously, Enigma is amazing. Viper Magi, Chains of Honor, which a lot of players will poo poo for sorceress builds. Those are all good options. But right now I'm using this Ormus robes, and it kind of synergizes with the rest of the build. So this is kind of unorthodox, I would say, with the standard sort of GG Lightning Sorceress. I'm using a Moser's. You might see this more so on like a hardcore Sorceress. I mean, you probably get some Storm Shield instead, but my thinking behind this build is getting that Moser's. Obviously, 25 all res, you get some defense, that's cool. A little bit of blocking, but that minus 10% by double faceting it. So if you're thinking of like super GG, like max glass cannon builds, you'd get like a J mod or something like that with like life, and then you'd put 4 facets in it. So this is kind of like in that direction. So, but not quite right. You're not getting any plus skills. You're not getting FCR, but you're getting minus 10%. And then if you look at it in totality, I get minus 20% at the helmet, minus 5% with the Ormus, and then minus 10% with the shield, and that's minus 35%. Now, Lightning Sorceress, the minus to resistance is pretty much the most important stat. Just kind of how the math works out. It's even more beneficial than plus all skills. It's more beneficial than plus percent damage, and that's not necessarily the case with like a Cold Sorceress. Plus percent damage boost is huge, and minus all res is less important. And I found that if you look in totality, with CTA Battle Command, I get a 33k max end of my lightning, which isn't that high. A lot of sorcerers can get kind of like 40k plus, especially if they're not like really incorporating any MF into the build. But when you're talking about efficiency, you're talking about player 7 farming. Yes, I'm sacrificing raw damage, which is going to slow down my monster killing in general to non-lightning immunes, but to the immunes that I break, getting incremental minus to resistance just exponentially increases your killing speed. on those, which then increases your overall killing speed, and especially because if you do like chaos runs, you can with this build you can easily slice right through those like specters, and those are the ones that have the highest rune drops, right? So next I have a kind of a whatever amulet. It just kind of fits. So 2 to all skills, 10 FCR, 45 to mana, 3 damage reduction. So okay amulet. I have a couple other ones. I'll show you later. That can kind of fit different flavors of the build. I got 39% chance guards. Pretty self-explanatory. Upgraded, which was a mistake. If it's not hardcore, which I'm not playing hardcore, there's really no reason to upgrade them because I'm not using a Monarch with this build, right now at least. And you can see that that's my strength bottleneck, because 106 with the Mosers upgraded also at 100. Probably don't even need to upgrade the Mosers either. And then I'd be looking at something more like 77 as my strength. So I could be getting another, 100-something, 140 life with BO by making that change. But whatever. Not a big deal. BK ring. I still haven't found an SOJ, and which is crazy because I've found like 30 high runes and, GG items and what have you. And still haven't found an SOJ. Very bizarre. Iraq's self-explanatory. And then I have a 10 FCR ring. This is to get my breakpoint. Then you got 15 strength, which is basically just a life buff, right? And then fire resistance, obviously great. And then magic damage reduced by 2, which is a decent stat. And then lastly, I have some unique, by unique I mean rare, but interesting, one of a kind, not amazing, but pretty darn good rare boots. Got tri-res, a little bit of faster run walk, and then 25% MF. So high MF, and then super high lightning res. I think that's the max, is 40%, and then pretty high cold res, and then 70% fire res, and then not getting any of that like wasteful poison res as one of the tri-res options there. Looking at switch here, I have that CTA 5BO, good roll, and then I have a lidless here. I would be using a spirit, but obviously without that strength, can't use that. Now, that being said, I'm pretty close to getting a Phoenix, and that's kind of my plan, is to put a Phoenix on switch, so I don't have to keep chugging mana potions. This character burns through mana, especially while getting mana burned by like ghosts and chaos, or just monsters in general. So I got Vex, low. I still need my second Jaw rune. I have an Enigma, that's the only Jaw rune I found, so that'll be plugged right into that Phoenix. You can look at some of my other runes here I have just kind of sitting around. Anyways, so let's look at the inventory. Start with the small charms. So it's a mix of magic finding and res. So pretty much all 7%, except for like this one that has 5% and then 10% fire res. So pretty good small charms. Just beefing up that MF and capping my resistances. I haven't found that many lightning skillers, but I found some pretty good ones of the ones that I have found. So I have 28 life, 24 life, 34 fire damage, which is, throwaway. This is kind of an interesting Grand Charm, 6 strength, 13 all res. I know people don't really use in these GG builds like that, like Grand Charms for res or really anything, even attack rating for melee builds. But if you look at it from a 3 small charms perspective, you're basically looking at 4.3 all res, 2 strength per small charm. And that's a pretty good small charm. Got 3 of those. 40 to all life skiller, which is pretty awesome. And then an almost trophy, perfect item. It's 1% off maximum gold find, but otherwise it's perfect. And honestly, the 40% and 15% perfect rolls, those are the ones that really matter anyways. 1520 Annie, 2018 Torch, and that pretty much wraps up the source gear. Look at Mercenary. This is basically the GG Mercenary build. Can't really do that much to improve it. You could, but it's kind of meaningless min-maxing. So I have an Infinity Thresher and just a regular Thresher, E-Thresher base. That rolled perfect, which is ridiculous. Yeah, pretty wild that I rolled a perfect Infinity. I've only rolled a handful of those in my life, only one on single player, and a couple on a few ladder seasons I've played in the past. Then I have an ETH Fortitude, E-Bugged Kraken Shell. Pretty good defense, 3200. Could be better. With like a Sacred Armor or something like that. And then I have a non-ETH Andes. I found like 4 or 5 of these so far. I think this is my best one of 29 strength, but I haven't found an ETH one. I just wanted to show you a couple things in my stash real quick. So obviously I got like a good Spirit here that I've used in other iterations of my Lightning Sorceress. And that would maybe pair with like a Viper Magi, with like a Facet, 34 all-res, pretty good Viper Magi. And then maybe like my Ashudas here. So I'd swap out the Hodo for the Ashudas, put the Viper Magi on, and then get a Spirit on. And then that kind of works as far as resistances, as far as hitting my breakpoints. And it's a comparable build. Crescent Moon's amazing, but it's tough when you don't have the faster cast rate, and you don't have the plus all skills, and you don't have res. But that minus 35% to enemy lightning resistance equals the entirety of my minus lightning resistance on my gear. So it's a lot. It's a lot, but I just don't think it's optimal with what it's missing. You know, Oculus is great. Could use that. You know, even a Wizard Spike is good. I have some other res boots, MF boots. These are decent. War Travelers, 46% MF. I would use those, but I need the resistance to get capped out a bit. So that pretty much sums it up. Just 1 or 2 quick things here. Here are my resistances. Could be better, but I got the 2 important ones maxed. And then I'm hitting 125% FCR, so I'm a little bit overshooting that 117% breakpoint. And then I have nearly 180% Magic Find, which is kind of that sweet spot in terms of high player count clearing, speed, and just getting, you know, a good chance at getting some magic items. So definitely welcome any critiques, thoughts, criticisms on that build, and I'll do a quick chaos run just to kind of demonstrate